Hey guys, Joseline'S Cabaret Texas Reunion, episode 1. And if you're watching this on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube because we don't know how long TikTok is going to be around. So the episode starts kind of abruptly with Wet Wet coming out to like host or open the show. I did like that they did find a way to include her, but I felt like they tried to play her because when she first came out, you could hear that the crowd was excited. But then when she said, oh, when you hear Joseline'S Cabaret, you think about Wet Wet, and they like panned to the crowd, they made it sound like the crowd was silent. But I don't believe they were because they were cheering when she walked out. Then out of nowhere, Melissa comes up on the stage talking about, oh, bye, Wet Wet. Are y'all ready for the Puerto Rican princess? We didn't want Melissa to present Jocelyn and the girls. We wanted Wet Wet to do it. We don't care about Melissa. Do y'all know that? Then they had Kay come out on her tricycle like Saw. I didn't include that here. It was very silly and awkward. Definitely could have been done better. And it's like, Kay, why are you doing that again? You didn't see our reaction to when you did it the first time. Like, we thought you let Jocelyn play you and you just let her play you again by putting you on the stage. Like, you really embracing being the jigsaw. But I will say that Kay definitely looked better on this reunion than she did during the season to me. I feel like her face looked a little softer. So maybe her fillers like went down a little bit and she didn't refill. So Jocelyn and the girls came out. They had on their purple outfits to match like the theme because you see how the theme for the season was purple. Now, I will say that I do feel like too much of this first episode was taken up by the performances, especially because it's like, girl, you're on tour. Some people have seen you on tour. We've seen videos of you performing the tour online. We saw a bunch of the tour dates on the show. So we've heard these songs and seen these dances multiple times throughout the season. I don't really think we needed to see all of them again. If anything, she should have chose like maybe 2 to 3 songs. But I think she did 4 on episode 1. And I feel like on episode 2, she's going to do more. I feel like it should have really just been I Like the Way You Are. That should have been the only one she performed fully because it's still unreleased and the people been asking for it and the people really like it. So she should have performed that fully and probably released the song. Besides that, I feel like we should have just got Domino and like 2 other songs. Either Do It Like It's My B-Day, Doon Cha Cha, or Vegas, I Wanna Ride. Like, that's the 5 songs she need to stick to, and she only should have chose 3 of the 5. So first they performed Domino and then they performed Manhattan. Now Manhattan is actually a song by Jocelyn I like. Dropped Your Ass on Your Ass. She was dissing Stevie. But it's still not one of the biggest hits. And we're not here for a concert or a tour. We only have an hour. I feel like if Jocelyn wanted to put out an episode where she was just performing, then they should have just gave her a special episode and let her do an hour episode of her performing her songs. But don't force it into the reunion time. So after they perform Domino in Manhattan, we actually get into the girls arriving to the reunion and stuff. But then in about 15 or 20 minutes, it's going to randomly cut and she's going to start performing again. The first scene we get is Raven and Diamond, and then they're later joined by Hennessy, Andrea, and Danny. Diamond was asking, is Oceans going to join the group? Why would Oceans join the group? This is clearly the OGs and Hennessy because Hennessy got along with the OGs best, and she has so much beef with the newbies. That's the only reason they stuck her in this group. So why would Ocean be a part of this group? I didn't understand that. Diamond's still insecure about her weight, talking about people need to stand on the scale and show who's large and in charge because she's tired of the fat accusations when she just had a child. I don't remember anybody calling Diamond fat except for Diamond. Diamond literally kept talking down on herself and saying that she wasn't comfortable with her body and pointing it out to us, the viewers, and probably the other girls in the house as well. And Raven was saying how she was excited about the reunion and she had to do her big one today. So I don't understand why she didn't want to come out on stage later, but we'll get into that in a little while. Then we see Kay and Chinx. Chinx basically said that she's been at home chilling. She hasn't really had any bookings or anything. She's had a lot of personal stuff going on with her family. And Kay said that she's been doing a lot of traveling and she's been getting booked. I feel like Chinx isn't getting booked because she left so early. Because I feel like Chinx should be getting booked over Kay. But Kay made a bigger impact on the show and she was there longer. I don't think she left until like the middle of the season. Chinx left towards the beginning. So then they start talking about Jayla and how she apparently made a diss song and dissed a few of the Cabaret ladies. And I guess in the song she was saying how Chinx didn't do nothing as far as defending Kay. Like, remember, Chinx kept talking and like speaking up, saying that she felt like they was doing too much to Kay, but she didn't really say it to the girls and she wasn't ready to like fight for Kay. So I guess Jayla was just saying there was no point in her saying what she said in her confessionals because she didn't do nothing. But Chinx said that apparently she had confronted Jayla off camera and Jayla was copping pleas. So she don't understand why Jayla included her in the song because she don't want to fight her. And Kay was like, well, all she said about me in the song is the normal calling me Jigsaw. I just realized that this episode was like Baddies too. Maybe they had the same editor. Like the first 15 minutes, these 3 scenes, like we want to go back and forth between. Kind of. Now we see Rose and Envy talking, and they're eventually joined by Neek and Erica. Rose was just saying how she's not getting cute for the reunion because she knows she got fades to run. And Envy said it was a roller coaster for her because she basically got into it with Jocelyn. So from what I gathered, Erica from BGC9 is from Chicago. She goes by Lucci V now, and she does her reviews on shows like Baddies and Joseline'S Cabaret. Envy is also from Chicago, and Envy and Erica know each other. I watched Erica's review today, and she basically said that she used to do content and reviews with Envy, and they reviewed the season of Joseline'S Cabaret where Ballistic had put his hands on Amber in defense of Joseline. Envy gave her review or her commentary and basically said that she didn't agree with Joseline and Ballistic. She felt like they were wrong. So that's what Joseline saw that has her upset with Envy, and that's why she keeps saying, like, don't mention Ballistic, don't mention my husband. So now we see Lexi, Des, and Isis. They're going to be joined by Oceans in a few. Lexi says she's coming for whoever comes for her tonight. But based on the preview, that's going to be Chinx and Fetish. And y'all know they was making all type of accusations about Lexi saying she was recruiting young girls to do her line of work. And y'all know what that is. Isis says she wants to get Danny, and Lexi agreed and said that Danny has way too much mouth. So now back to this scene with the OGs and Hennessy. Hennessy is saying that she has a few people she has to get into it with, but the person at the top of the list is Rose, because apparently Rose mentioned something about her child. So Envy says she don't like how everything turned out with her and Joseline. She feel like it played with her character and made her look fake. But I low-key feel like you should have just outed yourself. Because y'all already know Joseline be digging online, trying to see who auditioned for Baddies and all of that. So what makes you think she might not see who reviewed her show and had something negative to say? Or one of the minions like Danny or Andrea won't see it and report it to her. So her best bet was to just out herself before she even got on the season or in the middle of the season, probably around the time that she was getting rid of Lexi, because you sat there while Lexi was getting exposed for trying out for Baddies and wanting to do music and all of that and didn't say nothing when you yourself knew that you had skeletons in your closet when it came to Joseline. And Nick and Erica was just telling Envy to be happy that she was able to do one season and she made it to the end. So I guess they all just know she probably ain't coming back. Okay, so back to this scene. Oceans just came in the room and her and Isis are getting into it. Now, this was a little bit confusing because they were yelling and we don't know all of the tea. But from what I gathered, Oceans and Isis were living together. They became roommates at some point during or after the tour. And apparently it went bad. And apparently at some point of them getting into it, Oceans told Isis that she needs to DIE. Oceans was talking about that's just a figure of speech. That's just something people say. That's not just something you say in an argument. That's not a figure of speech. If you saying that to somebody, you really got to hate them and really want to hurt them. And don't see yourself making up with them. So Dad stepped in the middle and told them that they not gonna fight because they need to go out there and perform. And Oceans was like, yeah, that's basically why you didn't make it, because the cabaret is about dancing and not fighting. And I want both of us to go out on stage looking good. But after we do the performance and we get on stage for the reunion, we could handle it. And Oceans was saying something about how she thought Isis had her shit. So I guess maybe Oceans was like accusing Isis of stealing something from her or taking something from her, but then it turned out not to be true. And Isis was like, but you let it go on. Like, you didn't clear it up. You didn't apologize. So that's what I'm getting. Like, Oceans thought Isis stole from her or took something of hers or had her shit, whatever else that would mean. So Isis starts telling Ocean she can buy her life. Her car is raggedy. What happened to that trick that was paying your bills? So Isis is basically saying, like, girl, why would I steal from you? Or why would I take anything from you or have your stuff? So Jayla came in talking about what's up. And Chinx was like, what's up with you? You talking about I didn't do nothing. And Jayla was like, I didn't say you did anything. And Chinx was like, yeah, you acting like it was a problem that I didn't do something. And Jayla was like, well, all I was saying is that you tried to check me about something, but you didn't fight me about it. So Chinx got up and was like, okay, so what do you want to do now? And Jayla was like, okay. So they squared up and Chinx did Jayla in. And I like both of them. They both was actually two of my favorites throughout the season. I will say that I felt like Chinx left early, so I definitely wanted to see more of her, which made her more of a fave. Whereas Jayla started to get on my nerves towards the end of her run on the show. And I kind of felt like she faded into the background and was like Neek's sidekick. And then now her and Neek aren't even cool. And Chinx was like, I spared you. You should have thanked me. So after the fight, Jayla was just like, all right, all right. So I guess when they get back on stage, she might want to go again. And they definitely had to redo her hair and makeup because look at her face. I don't know if she's scratched up or if her makeup is just smeared all over her face. And then the hair is crazy. The shot of the kitchen that they gave, insane. So we see Joseline and Janisha meeting up backstage to talk about what they're going to do tonight as far as hosting together. And they took us down memory lane. And Janisha was like, you know, the last time we hosted something together was the very first Zeus reunion, which was One More Chance. And that just took me back down memory lane. I was like, oh my God, remember One More Chance, y'all? And I didn't even realize like Rolly and Joseline did a reunion together. Joseline was the host for a reunion where Rolly was the star of the show. Like I might have to go back and watch that because, you know, look how far they have both come on the network. and they're both still there. And then we know they kind of had got into it a little bit on Bad versus Wild when it was Baddies versus Joseline's Cabaret. So I think I'm gonna go back and watch that episode. Now, we did hear a few of Joseline's opinions on the ladies backstage during this conversation. Janisha was basically saying how Neek and Hennessy came in hard. And Jocelyn was like, yeah, and they're both good dancers, while I feel like certain people like Raven, who had a lot to say, aren't the best dancers. And they were both saying they don't really understand what happened with Neek, Dez, and Jayla's friendship. You know, all three of them were the three peas in a pod, and now there's beefs going on between them. So then Jocelyn was like, let's talk about the big fat Oompa Loompa bee, Queen Envy. She had a lot to say about my husband. Don't play with my husband. And then Janisha was saying how Rose had two beefs, Raven and Hennessy, but apparently she also has beef with Oceans from what we saw in the trailer. And Jocelyn was like, yeah, Dookie Breath is going to have a lot of people in shambles. Basically, she's going to have a lot of fades to run. But I was cracking up because Jocelyn called her Dookie Breath. So I'm like, okay, are you confirming that Rose's breath stink? Like the girls weren't lying? Because I've never heard Jocelyn agree to what the girls were saying about Hennessy, but now I'm hearing her agree to what the girls were saying about Rose. So after that scene with Janisha and Jocelyn, it cuts back to them performing. So now they're performing Vegas. I want to ride. I want to ride. And Danny and Andrea are on the pole. They were doing their big one. Like I said, their pole work definitely is what keeps them in the cabaret. I don't think they're the best dancers otherwise, and I don't think they have the best look or the best. But I do think that they're very good on the pole. And a lot of times those thicker BBW heavy kind of girls are not able to be as, basically Danny and Andrea are more nimble, more agile, more quick with their movements than some of the girls who are heavier would be. Neek and Oceans did their big ones too with this move right here. And then lastly, they performed Doom Cha Cha. So from there, it cuts to Janisha getting on stage, and then she introduces Jocelyn to come on stage. Jocelyn came out high energy, Lauderdale ho, Lauderdale ho, interacting with the crowd, doing her big one. And Jocelyn really loves Janisha. You could tell she always gives Janisha her flowers. And Jocelyn was just thinking ballistic and saying that he has been the man behind the music, and it's a blessing for them to be able to do music together. And like we all have said, I feel like he's definitely helped Jocelyn to improve her sound and find her sound. And he's definitely doing better songs for her. And I think putting more into her career and believing in her more than Stevie J ever did. I think Stevie J saw Jocelyn as an opportunity and like a bag, but I think Ballistic really believes in her and like wants to nurture her career and help her grow. She also talked about her past usage of the white substance and said that she's been off of it for a year and that she has joked about it a lot, but it is a blessing that she's gotten clean. She said she was young and dumb, but she did have fun, but you know, it's time for her to move on to the next chapter of her life. And I think we're all proud of her as viewers, and we see the change, the growth, the improvement of how she deals with the girls. So then Jocelyn brings out the OGs, Danny, Andrea, and Diamond. Raven doesn't come out on stage. Diamond said that Raven didn't want to come out on stage. Jocelyn was saying why we should go get her. The audience said, yeah, go get her. So Jocelyn and Diamond start walking to the back to basically try to get Raven to come out. So as they're going to the back, we get this quick flash on the screen that says prior to the reunion, Jocelyn and Raven had a disagreement, which led to Raven not wanting to come out on stage. But when Jocelyn and Diamond went backstage to talk to Raven, they didn't really address them getting into an argument, and Jocelyn was being very nice to Raven. So I don't know if off camera Jocelyn had went off on Raven and that made her not want to come on stage or what. Because what was the disagreement? What are we missing? Because Jocelyn was being extremely nice to the girl in front of us and in front of the cameras. So now only Danny and Andrea are left on stage, and Danny decides to seek some attention as usual. Start screaming and singing and running to the crowd and saying she's still in the mother effing house and she's so mother effing wet. Like, girl, I'm still in the mother effing house is New York's quote, and I'm so mother effing wet is Wet Wet's quote. Do you have an original quote? It's giving that white lady that Jocelyn says she got off of, Danny is starting to get onto. Because that's what it's giving me. What are you on? And why is their nickname for Raven Puss? Are y'all trying to say she's pussy? So Jocelyn was telling Raven, come on, you have to come on stage. You have to come to work. Raven was asking Diamond, why did she do this? And she was like, I didn't do anything, but I got you. I'm going to be there with you on stage. The crowd wants to see you. And they basically convinced Raven to come out onto the stage. Back on stage, we see Janisha basically asking Andrea what was her experience like this season. Andrea was talking about, I got out of my comfort zone. I beat a couple of bees up and I got the money. And the audience was so real because they was like, girl, who did you beat up? So Andrea got mad, got up, walked up to the crowd and basically thought she was telling the crowd about themselves, saying that it doesn't matter because she won the money. She's still in the cabaret and she's the one who's going to run the cabaret when Jocelyn retires. So Jocelyn really got that idea stuck in her head that she's next in line. But you do know it would still be called Jocelyn's Cabaret, right? Not Andrea's Cabaret. You don't want something for yourself? Andrea says she beat up Wet Wet, she fought Isis, she fought Neek, and she fought Jayla, so she don't want to hear nothing. So Diamond and Jocelyn have Raven hand in hand and they walk her on stage. And Jocelyn's like, I got her, you guys, I got her. And the crowd cheers. But then Jocelyn says, Raven, you were a fan favorite, even though a lot of people online said you were a hater to the new girls. Huh? And she was asking Raven, why were you acting like you didn't want to come on stage and do your job and support me? This is my show, not any of the girls that you were beefing with. Jocelyn was like, why did I have to come and get you? And Raven was like, I think you know why. Which is why I'm saying I feel like Jocelyn went off on Raven on camera. But Jocelyn was like, at the end of the day, I'm still your boss. And Raven was like, I know. And Jocelyn was like, yeah, so it's a thin line. Like, we friends, but I'm your boss. And Raven says she just feel like Jocelyn is really hard on her and she's earned her stripes. And Jocelyn was like, yeah, you earned your stripes, but that don't mean you get to be a diva. Raven says she's not a diva. Then Janisha asked Raven, does she feel like her and Jocelyn are still friends? Raven said, I don't know. And Jocelyn was like, well, I feel like she's my friend. She's my family. I just feel like she's very young and immature and she knows she effed up, but she don't want to own up to it. So Jocelyn was like, stay and do your job, be a woman. And Raven was like, is this what you brought me out here for, Jocelyn? And she was like, no, I still love you. And I'm not even going to like keep saying anything else about it. I'm just going to let you stay up here and talk to your fellow dancers and give you that respect. So she didn't go in on her, which is why I'm saying, like, I don't know if Jocelyn is just trying to be nice on camera, but then off camera, she's still going off on them or what. So Janisha was like, I'm going to bring out another OG. Some might deem her the fan favorite. And Jocelyn was like, bye, Janisha. So she brought Wet Wet on the stage. Wet Wet came out with her helmet on, of course, but then she took it off because Janisha was like, you know, I see you upgraded the smile. She got her teeth fixed, so she was excited about that. Yes. So Janisha asked Wet Wet how she felt about the season. She said she felt good, even though she was only there for 4 episodes. And Janisha was like, yeah, but it was 4 epic episodes. And Wet Wet was like, yes. So Janisha says, let's look at everything you did this season. So I'm thinking we're just going to see a little highlight reel of all of Wet Wet's best moments from this season. But it just went straight into the whole season trailer recap. Like, okay, but that's just the rush ghetto shit we can expect from Zeus, right? So after the trailer went off, Jocelyn was taking a bow and just giving herself her flowers and saying, you know, give it up for season 5, ho. It was a great season, which it was. Definitely was better than Baddies. And like I said, Baddies had 3 seasons that were airing at some point in 2024, East Caribbean and Midwest. And I think the Cabaret was better than all of them. So then Janisha said that she was going to bring out some more of the ladies. So she said that she was going to bring out Monii and like 3 other girls. I think Chinx, Kay, and Des. But only Monii came out at the moment. And as soon as Monii came in, before she could even sit down, Raven got up talking about, oh, you got an issue with me? And Monii was like, really? So they had their first round. Raven kind of jumped up to try to get to her height. And Monii really can't fight, especially to be that big. And Raven don't got hands like that. So it's like, why was she kind of tearing you up? I'm confused. But Raven wanted to go a second round. And that time she really jumped into the fight. She dove into the fight. And same thing. It kind of looked like she was getting Monii again. But apparently Monii did something because Raven had that like scar at the bottom of her lip after the fight. Like the red was there. Like she got scratched or she was bleeding a little bit. I don't know. But it don't look like Monica won. I'm not gonna lie. Monica, you disappointed me. You too big for that. If you was gonna do something, you was supposed to dog walk Raven, please. And Raven was like, you've been talking shit saying you got a problem with me because I have faith in your fat ass and you didn't have faith in yourself. And Monica was like, I'm not a minion. Danny gonna say I'm a proud minion. We know. And Andrea sitting over there like this, like clock it. Like, girl, y'all are a mess. So Raven goes walking off stage. Monica claims that she hasn't been talking shit online. And Janisha was like, well, Raven seems to feel like she was trying to motivate you to show more of your personality. And Wet Wet said, I tried to motivate her too and tell her that she wasn't doing enough before she got eliminated. And she basically told me she didn't want my help. So Monii says she got paid the same to come to the reunion as everybody else and she didn't have to do nothing. But I don't think you got paid the same for the whole season because you didn't go to none of the shows. But, you know, the reunion fee is probably the same for everybody. And Janisha was like, well, do you feel like you should have done more because we didn't really get to know you? Monii said no, and she doesn't care. So then Jocelyn comes out of nowhere talking about, Monii, why did you and Raven just fight? Is it because she said you're too fat and you shouldn't be in the cabaret? And Monii kind of just said, yeah, that's why. Like, I don't know. It kind of felt like Jocelyn pulled that out of her ass and Monii just agreed with it. So Diamond said to Monica, Raven never called you fat. And Wet Wet was like, well, you didn't prove her wrong. You proved her right. And Monii basically said that regardless, she still would have did the cabaret because she got paid. But, like, it's a check to her. It's not like she really care about being in the cabaret. And you could tell that kind of annoyed Jocelyn. She was like, you know, that's effed up, but whatever. Because it's like, girl, that spot definitely could have went to somebody else if that was the case. And Janisha was like, okay, so let's bring out some girls who actually did want to be a part of the cabaret respectfully. So at that point, Janisha invites all of the other ladies on stage. You see Neek, Erica, Lexi, Envy, and Des. So when they all get on stage, Oceans immediately is like, come on, Isis, you wanted that backstage? Like, I want it now. So Des and Envy got up and was blocking Oceans from getting the Isis. They was like, let her take her shoes off first. Oceans ran over to Danny and Andrea doing rock, paper, scissors, I guess trying to see who was going to fight Isis first, because I'm pretty sure all three of them are going to fight her. So Oceans and Isis have their first round. I feel like Isis was swinging more, but Oceans does have strength, and she did kind of like sling her a little bit, and she took her wig off. But I feel like besides her giving Isis that one sling and getting the wig off, she wasn't really doing nothing else. So then they started going for a second round, and it looked like Oceans was slinging Isis down to the ground again. And then the episode cuts off. So on Sunday, on episode 2 of the reunion, we'll get the continuation of Oceans versus Isis. We'll also get Lexi Gold versus Fetish. We'll get Danny versus Wet Wet, with Andrea's face looking like mine the whole time. And we'll also get Lexi versus Chinx, Des versus Chinx, Rose versus Hennessy, and it kind of looks like Oceans is jumping in to hit Rose. So that's the end of the review. I'll see y'all next week for Joseline'S Cabaret Texas Reunion, episode 2. And if you're watching this on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube, because we don't know how long TikTok is going to be around. Okay? Bye.